Okay, last we came together, we started to talk about the beginning of World War One and what actually set off World War One, and we have to think about those main causes: militarism, alliances, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, imperialism and nationalism, and we also talked about how this war was different than any other war, different in that everybody in Europe was fighting and how they were fighting and with what. The increase in technology changed the tactics of war, changed the death toll of war. But now, what we need to look at is where was the United States and what got us to the point of getting involved in this war. So, President Wilson on neutrality. Wilson is going to call for the United States to stay out of the distant conflict in Europe. He's going to say, look at that ocean in between us and them. Let's stay out of it. Let's keep that distance. Let's use the ocean for the buffer that we want it to be. Many Americans believe that we shouldn't get involved until we're directly affected by the war. So unless somebody attacks us, let's just stay out of it. And this pin is perfect. War in Europe, peace in America, God bless Wilson. That's where we were at. The United States tries to maintain this consistent isolation as far as the war efforts are concerned, but our economic interests begin to become affected as the war continues because remember, our trading partners are Europe. It is all of Europe. And the wartime needs lead to a demand of production, which the United States is pretty eager to provide. And we don't care who needs the help, who needs the wartime supplies. We start producing it. Because remember, the United States wants to grow that wallet. We want to take that money. So opinions start to change. And one of the biggest reasons that opinions change is the German invasion of the neutral Belgium. Propaganda, which is advertisements circulated throughout the United States trying to convince people towards a certain idea, report the action of the German soldiers against the innocent civilians. They describe the slaughter that German soldiers use against these innocent civilians who had nothing to do with the war and were just these poor casualties of war who didn't want to be involved in the first place. Now, the invasion of Belgium, while it is vicious, gets painted 10 times more vicious to the public in the newspapers. And because of this, we get three very distinct opinions of war in the United States. We have the isolationists, who very easily say, we gotta isolate. Stay out of it, not our problem. It sucks that those people were affected by the war, that they were treated so badly, but you know what? Not our problem. We have internationalists who want to work to keep peace, but they want to do it without sending our men to war. They say, you know what, let's try to talk it out. Let's bring everybody to the table and maybe we can make it better through conversation. I don't know, maybe we can have a therapist come. And then we'll have the group of interventionists who say, you know what? Time to intervene. Let's protect the US interests. Let's get in on the side of the Allies. Let's go fight. But what this proves is that the United States was not united on whatever decision was going to be made concerning World War One. And what we really needed when we went into the war was to be united, for everybody to want to go in. Because just like the Spanish American War, if you don't have the public support, that's not good going into war. Ultimately, the people who are going to be fighting is the public. So if you don't have all of the public support, it's going to be an uphill battle getting people who fight for the defense of the country. We're going to start making steps from neutrality into war. Uh, One of the pieces that starts to push us is this blockade, this back and forth between Great Britain and Germany. So the United States originally had plans to trade with both sides, but the British would not stand to see the United States trade with the Central Powers. All the United States was trying to do was make that money. And what the British are going to do is blockade Germany to prevent the US from staying neutral and kind of put the US in harm's way as they're now. And what it does is when they blockade Germany and none of the goods from the United States are going into Germany, but all of the goods from the United States are going into the Allied side, it makes the United States look like they are now an ally to just the Allies. Now, the British, in order to carry out this blockade, are going to be going on to ships and patrolling the North Sea to intercept and detain thousands of merchant ships that were thought to be harboring cargo that was bound for their enemy's shores that had contraband on it. Now, contraband are goods that are used for weapons or other articles that would be used in war. These are supposed to be under international law at the time. They can be confiscated. But what cannot be confiscated is non-contraband, which is medical supplies, food, and other non-military items. But the British are going to take whatever they want from any ship that they want because they don't want their enemy getting anything. This aggressive display from the British of power is going to make the neutral countries angry, and many of them are going to be angry because they enjoyed trading with Germany. That was a strong trade partner. They were making money. And this is going to heighten tensions in the Northern Sea because the British are going to declare it a military area. Now, these are real breaches of international law, and to be taking neutral merchant ships. And in response to this, the blockade strategy is going to be effective, and we're going to see this confiscating back and forth between them kind of push the United States away from this neutrality idea. As the war continued, Great Britain's going to redefine the law to be whatever they wanted to make sure that their enemy doesn't get what they need. Now, Germany is going to respond with a blockade around Britain, and the way they carry out that blockade, you guessed it, they are going to use unrestricted submarine warfare. So, really, who gets our ships sunk? Germany's going to retaliate. All right, let's get into this retaliation. The sinking of the Lusitania. Germany had been warned, had warned the U.S. of attacks from U-boats at sea, but we didn't really think that this was going to happen. Okay, we certainly didn't think that it was going to happen to us. But a large passenger ship, a ship from New York, holding over 1,000 passengers, 128 of which were Americans, is going to be sunk. Germany believed that that ship had on it ammunitions in the cargo that were headed towards England. So May 7th, 1915, a German U-boat is going to fire at the ship without warning, and it is going to sink the ship. Wilson's going to demand that we see an end to all sinking of ships on the seas, but that doesn't work. So Germany, to keep the United States happy, they promise us, we promise we won't sink any more ships. We promise. Any ship that has passengers on board, we won't sink it unless we tell you first. And this promise from Germany to the United States that they wouldn't sink any more of our ships without warning is called the Sussex Pledge. Wilson, still wanting to keep the U.S. out of war, is going to uh, accept this Sussex pledge and say, okay, we'll take it, but don't sink anymore. Okay, this is bad enough. I can't defend to my people, not going to war against you if you keep killing innocent civilians out in the ocean. Uh, Wilson's Secretary of State, William Jennings Bryan, at the time is going to recommend that no more Americans travel on any ships of nations at war. Wilson's going to demand an immediate end to the submarine warfare, which goes against William Jennings Bryan's suggestion, and Jennings Bryan actually resigns in protest to this decision by Wilson to accept a promise from Germany. Wilson's going to run for re-election in 1916. He's going to run on the idea that he'll keep us out of war. I've kept us out of war so far, I'll keep us out of war again. The Progressive Party had died out when Roosevelt refused to run again. So really, it's back to the same two political parties. We have Woodrow Wilson, the Democrat, against Charles E. Hughes, the Republican. And you can see, based on the political party map there, that it was overwhelming, the support for Wilson in states in the South and in the West. But because of the Electoral College, Wilson is going to squeak by and win the election of 1916. But he has to keep in mind that his victory is tightly linked to the United States' promise of neutrality. He's kept us out of war so far, he'll continue to keep us out of war. But the United States is going to move away from neutrality shortly after. So Germany is going to see that the U.S. is leaning towards joining the Allied side and was very aware of our trading with the Allies. What pushes here is the Zimmerman note. This is also called the Zimmerman telegram. They're both the same thing. It comes out in 1917. The Zimmerman telegram was sent by German Arthur Zimmerman to Mexico. It was intercepted by British intelligence. The telegram is going to say that Germany was going to begin unrestricted submarine warfare, which would mean they were going to break the Sussex Pledge. And you know how we felt about unrestricted submarine warfare. We didn't want our ships getting blown up. What the telegram also said was that Germany was trying to get Mexico to align with them. And Germany promised that they would get Mexico back all of the land that we took at the Mexican-American War and fight against the United States with the intent of giving them back land. Now, Mexico was already pretty sour with us for taking all that land in 1848, and they were ready for vengeance. So when we get this note and we see it, it pushes us one step closer to war, because now we're like, holy cow, Germany's plotting against us. They're going to start blowing up our ships again, and they're trying to get our neighbor to the south to promise to attack us, and then war would be on our soil. And we don't want war on our soil. We pride ourselves in not fighting a war on our own soil. There's also going to be Allied propaganda that's used against the United States. The U.S. still remained reluctant to join the war on any side, even though Wilson preferred the style of the British government over the German rule. But propaganda is going to try to persuade the United States and the people of the United States to enter the war on the Allied side. Take a look at these pieces of propaganda. We have the Britishers saying, "You're needed, come across now," and trying to pull the United States across that ocean to get us to join the war, showing that that ocean kind of looks like a river, and it's been, that space that we used to think was there is kind of closed now. Wake up, America! Civilization calls every man, woman, and child, saying that we're sleeping on the war, presenting this idea that we're kind of lazy and we need to get involved. Again, another picture here to compare to this political poster is we're seeing the Atlantic being pictured as smaller, almost river-like, because technology has changed. That ocean is no longer as big as we thought, and war can come here if we don't come there. And in this one, you see Uncle Sam saying, it ain't what it used to be, talking about the Atlantic Ocean that was supposed to separate us from this conflict in Europe. Next time we come together, we are going to talk about the real place of America in World War I. Don't forget about your homework tonight, and any questions, let me know.